Governments in the UK, Australia, the United States, and elsewhere are tightening internet restrictions. This week we're asking, do new age limits and verification laws genuinely protect you? Or do they open the door for hackers and scammers to steal your information? Welcome to the podcast that helps you stay safe from scams, hacks, and frauds. Help us keep more people safe from scams, hacks, and frauds. It doesn't cost a thing, just like, subscribe, and leave a comment or review. It helps get the word out there. On the 25th of July 2025, the UK's Online Safety Act 2023 came into force, which will require users of adult sites to prove they're over 18. In Australia, users of social media will need to prove they're over 18 from December, whilst in the US, the Supreme Court has allowed a law passed in Mississippi which similarly requires the users of social media to identify themselves and prove their age to remain in place for now, despite Justice Brett Kavanaugh saying the law likely breaches the US Constitution's First Amendment. Laws with similar restrictions have been enacted in 12 other American states. Other countries such as Canada and members of the European Union are either considering or have implemented similar requirements regarding adult material on social media. Whenever a new rule, government service, or legal requirement is introduced, scammers and hackers seek ways to exploit it. They're quick to set up phishing sites that mimic legitimate verification pages or target databases with weak security. Every extra piece of personal data you share increases your risk of getting caught in fraud or identity theft. But before we look at those, I want to talk about how rules like these snowball and become bigger than they were ever intended to be. We'll do this by looking at how the UK's previous efforts to block child sexual assault material, or CSAM, were used to block other types of material. Since 1996, most of the UK's internet service providers have been voluntarily filtering CSAM. This followed threats from police of criminal prosecution if they did not start removing content. With the government standing behind the police, the ISPs created an independent charity called the Internet Watch Foundation, whose mission was to compile and maintain a blacklist of sites containing illegal pornographic material and CSAM, accept reports of sites that may contain such material, and ISPs that chose to be involved used this information to block sites on the list. So no problem, right? Nobody wants CSAM to be out there, do they? We certainly do not. In 2008, 95% of the UK's home internet users were unable to access parts of Wikipedia. The watch list blocked a page on the site about an album by a 1970s German hard rock band because of its cover. Not only was the page blocked, but the implementation also prevented some users from editing any page on Wikipedia. That album, with that cover art, is available in both online and physical music stores. After an outcry, the block was removed 4 days later. In 2011, the UK's High Court ordered the UK's largest ISP, BT, to block some specifically named piracy sites. BT's arguments, echoed by other ISPs that it was a mere conduit for what users want to access, were undermined by its efforts to block access to child sexual assault material. That Internet Watch Foundation blacklist as an example. Further orders to block specifically piracy sites have followed since then. In more recent years, this precedent has been employed to settle property disputes by blocking sites that allegedly sell counterfeit products or violate companies' trademark rules. Whilst those blocks are a win when it comes to stopping some types of fraud, it's not impossible that in the future ISPs could be ordered to block news sites that report on sensitive trials or defamation hearings, as UK news sites have previously been blocked from reporting on some of these in the past with so-called super injunctions. Or the government could decide some other material is damaging to children and could be put behind these blocks. The Online Safety Act 2023 will require all sites offering adult content to verify people's identity, either with ID documents or some other means to calculate their actual age, such as with a selfie. Mobile phone operators in the UK have required ID to access adult sites since 2004. We know from episode 12 that North Korea has been stealing people's identities. Surely they, and every other hacking group out there, will be looking for ways to exploit these new ID checks. Hackers could break into age verification systems or set up convincing fake ID checker sites to steal your details. Once they have your information, scammers can open bank accounts, apply for credit in your name, or target you with phishing attacks. If you think this is just fear-mongering, then I have bad news for you. It's already happened. TEA Dating Advice is an app that tries to help protect women by allowing women to check to see if their potential dates have a criminal history, sexual abuse record, and if they really are who they say they are. Just last month, they announced 72,000 images were stolen from its servers in a data breach. 13,000 of these were images uploaded for identity checking purposes and include both selfies and IDs. In some cases, those have included military IDs, which creates a national security risk. Wikipedia, in particular, is concerned that it may have to start identifying users due to the information available in its encyclopedia, and has threatened to block UK users instead of collecting their data, as it is unwilling to take the risk of that information being hacked. This would be a significant blow for those who use it to verify the authenticity of something, and again for potential fraudsters when their claims can no longer be easily checked. Other sites could also follow, and for small businesses this may be an impossible burden. The more restrictions impact people's day-to-day lives, the more likely they are to turn to a VPN or a virtual private network to circumvent them. As a result, VPN providers have seen an explosion in user numbers, with one citing a 16-fold increase in their usual traffic. As a quick recap of episode 11, which covered VPNs, VPNs send your requests for websites, mail, and anything else you want from the internet to a specific place on the internet first, and everything comes back through that same spot, making it look like you're somewhere else. If you pick that spot to be, say, Canada, then as far as the rest of the internet is concerned, you're in Canada. We discussed the risks of using a VPN and what they do in that episode. The UK government agency tasked with enforcing these restrictions, Ofcom, have made it very clear that sites subject to these rules cannot mention how to use a VPN to bypass the restrictions. And any other country looking to copy these rules would likely want similar rules to ensure their rules aren't undermined, despite the free speech concerns. So an adult site can't simply publish a page on where to find a VPN and how to use them. But that explosion in users to VPN services shows that this restriction isn't reducing public interest. There have been some talk of banning VPN use altogether, but this would just create new problems. Banning VPNs creates a security risk, as those networks are crucial privacy tools, particularly for businesses. It's questionable whether companies can operate with adequate data protection required by laws like GDPR if they cannot use VPNs. Additionally, VPN providers and hackers could place apps offshore, outside of established App Store controls, meaning they remain accessible and are difficult to distinguish as real or fake. We've also seen legitimate VPN providers misusing their positions by selling user data, so this could actually put you at greater risk of identity fraud than using the ID verification systems the government has demanded. Critics of this law are sometimes accused of being supportive of child abusers. However, this distracts from genuine concerns about privacy, scams, and hacking risks. Hackers and scammers are always on the lookout for ways to access things they should not, and hostile governments have nearly limitless resources to achieve this. Creating a database of your information gives them a significant target, and that target will be even larger when it requires social media site users to share their data. Anyone who tells you there is a simple answer to stopping online harm or protecting your privacy is lying to you. Some ID verification solutions simply assess a selfie rather than requiring official documents to estimate age. While using a selfie might currently be a safer option, as it's less sensitive than details like name, date of birth, driver's license, or passport, it may not be suitable for everyone, particularly those who are 18 or just a few years older. And as we discussed about TEA before, if those aren't deleted when not needed, they remain a risk to you. The TEA hack included data that was at least a year old. Here's a practical step to protect yourself from scams and hacks. Check to see if your data is already on the dark web and being shared by cybercriminals. Enter the address haveibeenpwned.com in your browser. There enter your email address and click search. If your email has been linked in a known data breach, you'll get a warning. Whilst you're there, set up alerts to be instantly notified of future breaches and give you a head start before scammers try to use your information. As an alternative, check if your bank offers tools to monitor for identity theft or suspicious activity and sign up for this service. Next week, we're going to talk about encryption. In the UK, Apple and the UK government are battling in court because the government wants to force Apple to decrypt its users' data on demand and has tried to ban reporting on this. We'll tell you what this is and why it's important next week. In the meantime, remember that scams, hacks and frauds are constantly evolving. Staying informed and cautious is your best defense. Check out all our stories on scamshacksandfrauds.com and subscribe to us on your favourite podcast site or YouTube. This podcast is available to reuse for free under the Creative Commons with Attribution Share Alike license. The music is not included in this license. For more information on the Creative Commons license, please visit creativecommons.org.